Once there was a small village surrounded by mountains. In that village lived a 24-year-old young man named Marco. Marco was always restless. His mind was never quiet. All day long, many thoughts came into his head. These thoughts made him feel tired and unhappy. He often felt sad about his past mistakes. He also worried a lot about his future. Because of this, his mind felt like a storm. He could not feel calm. He could not sleep properly. He even forgot how to smile. One day, Marco heard about a village in the hills. People said a wise old man lived there. The old man had once been a famous psychologist in the city. He had helped many people find peace in their minds. Later, he left the busy city and moved to a quiet place near nature. Sometimes he gave advice to people who visited him. Marco felt hopeful. He thought, maybe this wise man can help me. So he decided to go and meet him. After a long and tiring journey, Marco reached the village. He saw a small house covered with green plants. The old man was sitting quietly on the porch with his eyes closed. He looked very peaceful. Marco walked up to him and said softly, "Grandfather, my mind is very restless. I cannot stop thinking. I want peace. Can you help me?" The old man slowly opened his eyes and smiled. He said, "If you want peace, come with me. I will give you a small task." He took Marco to his yard and filled a glass with water up to the very top. The glass was so full that even a small shake would make the water spill. He gave the glass to Marco and said, "Walk to the end of the village and come back. But do not spill even one drop of water." Marco was surprised, but he agreed. He held the glass carefully and started walking. The road was narrow and busy. People were talking. Children were playing. Dogs were barking. Shopkeepers were shouting to sell their goods. But Marco did not look around. He kept his eyes on the glass. He walked slowly and carefully, step by step. Finally, he came back without spilling any water. The old man smiled and asked, "Did you see the children playing? Did you hear the dogs barking?" Marco said, "No. I only focused on the glass." The old man said gently, "That is the secret. When you focus on the present moment, your mind becomes calm. There is no space for fear, worry, or useless thoughts. While you were focusing on the water, you were not thinking about your past or your future. Your mind was quiet." Marco understood. The peace he was searching for was not outside. It was already inside him. He just needed to live in the present moment. He bowed his head and said, "Now I understand. If I want peace, I must focus on this moment." The sun was setting. Birds were flying back to their nests. Marco walked back home, but he was not the same person anymore. His heart felt calm. Now he knew how to quiet his mind. If you like this story, share it with your friends. And stay peaceful. Simple and clear language. Once upon a time, in a small village surrounded by tall mountains and green trees, there lived a 24-year-old young man named Marco. From the outside, Marco looked like any other young man. But inside, he was always restless. His mind never stopped thinking. From morning until night, thoughts kept coming and going. He thought about mistakes he made in the past. He replayed old memories again and again. Sometimes he felt guilty. Sometimes he felt embarrassed. And sometimes he just felt sad. When he was not thinking about the past, he was worrying about the future. What if I fail? What if I never become successful? What if my life never changes? These thoughts made his mind feel like a storm. He could not sit quietly. He could not sit quietly. He could not enjoy simple things. He had trouble sleeping at night. Even when he smiled, it was not real. Deep inside, he felt tired and empty. One day, Marco heard about a village far away in the hills. People said that a wise old man lived there. This man had once been a famous psychologist in the city. He had helped many people who were anxious, stressed, and unhappy. But when he grew old, he left the noisy city life and moved to a peaceful village close to nature. It was said that sometimes he gave advice to visitors. When Marco heard this, something inside him felt hopeful. He thought, maybe this man can help me. Maybe he knows how to calm the mind. Without wasting time, Marco decided to go and meet him. The journey was long and tiring. He walked for days through dusty roads and rocky paths. But his desire to find peace was stronger than his tiredness. Finally, he reached the quiet village in the hills. It was calm and beautiful. Birds were singing. The air was fresh. Everything felt peaceful. He saw a small house covered with green plants and flowers. On the porch, the old man was sitting quietly with his eyes closed. His face looked calm and relaxed, as if he had no worries at all. Marco slowly walked toward him and said softly, "Grandfather, my mind is always restless. I cannot stop thinking. I am tired of worrying about my past and my future. I want peace. Please help me." The old man slowly opened his eyes and looked at Marco with kindness. He smiled gently and said, "If you truly want peace, come with me. I will give you a simple task." He took Marco to his small yard. Then he filled a glass with water until it was completely full, so full that even a tiny movement could make it spill. He handed the glass to Marco and said, "Walk from here to the end of the village and come back. But you must not spill even one drop of water." Marco was confused. He had expected advice, wise words, maybe some deep explanation. He had expected advice, wise words, maybe some deep explanation. But instead, he got a task. Still, he respected the old man, so he accepted the challenge. He held the glass carefully and began walking. The road was narrow and busy. Children were playing and laughing. Dogs were barking loudly. Shopkeepers were calling customers. People were talking and moving around him. But Marco did not look at anyone. He did not listen to the noise. His eyes stayed fixed on the water in the glass. His hands were steady. His steps were slow and careful. Step by step, he moved forward. His full attention was on the glass. After some time, he reached the end of the village and turned back. Finally, he returned to the old man without spilling a single drop. Breathing deeply, Marco said proudly, "Grandfather, I did it. I didn't spill any water." The old man nodded and smiled. Then he asked calmly, "Tell me, did you see the children playing? Did you hear the dogs barking? Did you notice the people talking?" Marco looked surprised. "No," he said. "I did not see or hear anything. I was only focusing on the glass." The old man smiled again and said gently, "That is the lesson. While you were focusing on the water, your mind was completely in the present moment. You were not thinking about your past mistakes. You were not worrying about your future. There was no fear, no sadness, no extra thoughts, only awareness." He continued, "Peace does not come from changing the world around you. It comes from controlling your attention. When your mind stays in the present moment, it becomes calm. Just like when you focused on the glass." Slowly, Marco understood. The answer was simple, but powerful. Peace was never far away. It was always inside him. He just needed to stop living in the past and stop worrying about the future. He needed to live in this moment. Marco bowed his head with gratitude and said softly, "Now I understand. If I want peace, I must train my mind to stay here."